Once again, it's the Ghetto Free Press, and today is the fourth day of the Lula Smart trial, and I cannot understand how the news media outlets in South Georgia could ignore such a high-profile and important case concerning voting rights. Many people, I'm sure, have almost lost respect for many of the news media outlets because what has happened with the Quitman 10+2 for the last 3 years and almost 6 months, and they still have not gone to court. The first and only case is the one about Lula Smart, and there are 10 more to go. But today, as we listen to the testimonies and we saw how somebody circumvented the process of protecting the ballots of citizens, and it had nothing to do with the Quitman 10+2. It was people who apparently did not like the outcome of the election, and they sought to change it. And some people are asking the question, is it because of people who are connected to a person, who are connected with a person, who connected to a person up in higher echelons of the state? Can you imagine a person putting the stamps on a letter and then it's never even stamped out or marked, and then the ballot gets back the way it's going without being stamped out? You know, this thing has gotten so complicated over in Brooks County, this trial, until it don't even make sense. And when I say it don't make sense, what I mean by that, it don't make sense in this regard, that the news media and the newspapers are not sitting in the courtroom every day so they can report to the general public what has happened. It's like somebody is in the clique and among the slicks, and they're connected to the news media to silence what actually happened in this courtroom of Richard Porter. So the people will stay deaf, dumb, and blind to the times and unable to make intelligent decisions based on facts. Then to have a registrar to take ballots from an official place that are designated as her job location to her home. Now, I can't understand why somebody hasn't looked into that. Nor can I understand why somebody have not even looked into the postal worker who didn't protect the American people information on something as simple as a letter, and not know anything about the Privacy Act. And as I said earlier, I'm retired military, and I worked in postal service for 18 months over in Okinawa, Japan. And so I was in security service here in the United States, but when I went overseas, I had to go to Biloxi, Mississippi for 2 weeks plus 2 days to get training in postal service. And one of the first things they taught us, and I wasn't in the postal service for 18 years, and this postal worker said they never trained him about the Privacy Act. And so we must ask how many more people in the postal service across America who are never trained about protecting ordinary American citizens' personal information. I guess it's kind of like Walmart. Walmart, when you have a gun sale, they did not protect the information from citizens, of customers, I was department manager, and when I complained about it, well, it seemed as though it contributed to my termination under the heading of inability to perform job. And for 6 years, Walmart still has refused to even provide me with a courteous response. Well, today we think it is a skin color thing, but tomorrow you're going to find out that it's your thing. Let us listen to a little bit more of Brother Cunningham here as he highlights situations that go beyond the Quitman 10, go beyond Lula Smart and all these accusations brought up against them that don't even make sense. And we have said from day one it didn't make any sense. And this voter suppression is to keep people from voting. It's not only in Brooks County. I don't think Brooks County is the only place. Willacoochee, Madison, Florida. It's not only here. The people that kept us from voting yesterday, they are also trying to keep us from voting today. Let's listen to a little bit more of what goes on here in the state of Georgia in dealing with voting rights and the war that we fight, hoping to protect the rights of foreigners when we see our own vanishing before our face. Listen, please.
Quitman 10 plus 2 is a sham anyway, but that's just my opinion. And had folks been trained in the Board of Elections properly 2 years ago, there would never been a such thing as Quitman 10. But there was so much emphasis put on the negative from the past that was brought about because of lack of training, that no one bothered to it. They were so busy making sure that we were dotting every I and crossing every T to ensure that we were doing absentee ballots properly, that no one ever bothered to go look at the Board of Elections. You see, in this film that you're getting ready to get, the state law says that we must adhere to sunshine laws. That Board of Election meeting was called. It was not a secretary there. They did not use proper Robert Rules of Order. There were, matter of fact, they didn't read, the minutes weren't even approved until an hour after the meeting had started. The law says that every public meeting must be recorded. There was not one stroke of a minute taken by either Ken or the chairman of the Board of Elections. And even then, it was admitted that, well, we haven't had that much training. So again, this investigation shouldn't even be at this stage right now. Everyone should have been trained properly, or they should be in that position. And we would be talking about this right now. Mr. Collins knew those ballots were wrong. Deb Cox in Lowndes County, I physically called her. She called Ken, explained Ken how to get those ballots right. There were absentee ballots that were sitting in Ken's office for 8+ days. Requests before he sent the ballots out. He sent one ballot out wrong 3 times.
Well, don't call me any names, y'all. Please don't call me any name. But if you do, it's okay. But deal with the facts. Deal with the facts, and deal with the fact that your news media will not tell you this. Yet in time of war, we all pack our bags and go fight for this nation. Y'all, we, not black folk, not white folk, not Japanese, we better wake up. We had better wake up.
On the last time that he sent it, Deb Cox told him to overnight the daggone thing because the kid was in Maryland and was no way he could get it back here in time. There was no sense of urgency when it came to ensuring that everyone had the right to vote. So, how do we ensure that we're going to have a partial and fair election in November? I have no confidence in the Board of Elections. We have no confidence in the Board of Elections, and I think that the only thing we can do now is to ask that the Secretary of State's office truly listen to our complaints and ensure that we have someone in place to ensure we have a.
Well, we didn't know it then, but we know now that Secretary of State cared less about voting rights in Brooks County, and now J.C. Cunningham's understand that because they never got back with us. Well, be that as it may, but Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth.
Fair election on November 6th.
The reason also we started the NAACP in this area because of the previous election time.
Now, this young man is saying that the reason why they even brought the NAACP in was because of, well, he's going to explain that, but the point is that we had a meeting, 250, 300 people, and no news media even covered that story. Anything that dealing mostly with black news, it's not being hate, y'all, not being wrong, I'm being right. And I can prove what I'm saying. Whatever I say, I will guarantee the people of America and around the world that I can prove what I'm saying. I recorded it, and it's already on YouTube, showing that the news media didn't even think enough to come and cover that historic meeting.
So we started this organization, the Civil Rights Organization, to ensure that people's rights would not be violated. And we want to look into everything and make sure that everything is proper and in place. The problem with the Quitman 10+2 is a prime example of why we need an investigation in the election board. We need a thorough investigation because these people are doing exactly what they want to do. And that's not what is best for the citizens of Brooks County.
Can I get your name again, sir?
Ronnie Avery.
Okay, sir.
And he's a pastor of a local church, and too often our pastors do not get involved, but he's one pastor that does. So listen, please.
What is best for the citizens of Brooks County?
Can I get your name again, sir?
Ronnie Avery.
Okay, sir. A-V-E-R-Y?
A-V-E-R-E-T-T.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And also, there has been a systematic attempt in this entire region to silence our voices and our concerns and our...
Did you hear that? He says there's an asserted attempt. She says there's an asserted attempt, Miss Gibbs, Fannie Gibbs, to silence our voices. And if the news media don't cover our stories, and well, not our story, but our truth, then they are trying to silence our voices. And this is what it happens at many meetings that we've had, including when, in fact, at, I can't think of the name of the church, that Diane's church, but the church, the fact is that when they brought the state president, Evan DuBose, in and set up the local chapter of the NAACP, not one news media covered it, not one TV station, not one news. It's like as if though a tree fell in the forest, then they tell us the tree didn't fall, then they tell us that the forests don't even exist, and we have walked through the forest many times. We know the pain and suffering of the forest, and so we know what the real deal is. Listen, please.
This began in 2010. You're the first person, I believe, that we've had opportunity to talk to this.
We can't do it.
You hear? She said this. This investigator, the first person that they had to talk to, and then after talking to him, Secretary of State, they continued to ignore.
Mr. Archer, I'm on the board at the Board of
Yes, sir.
Conservancy. Like Mr. Cunningham was saying, there should be an investigation in the office, and I'm not talking about just for rank. The president, he need to come in and see as far back.
Now, this is a man that's on the Board of Elections calling for an investigation. I guess it's kind of like the black mayors in Meigs, Georgia, who are asking for an audit of the books, so they will try to get the city on a good footing. It's like the mayor of Whippaloo in Gordon, Georgia. All they want is an audit to give the people in the community an assurance that everything is being done properly. But they can't even get that. Now, by the way, you can call me in the name you want to. That's okay. But let's deal with the facts. I'm not important when it comes to that. Let's just listen to the facts and see if what is being said is true. That's more important than focusing on me. I'm retired military. I did 21 years. So don't look at me. Look at our children and coming generations of children. Listen, please.
Past and some things that was in there that was done. Since I've been a member there almost within a year, there was a box, a nice sized box that came from the old register. Not Joy Collins, but what's Miss Love's first name? Miss Joy. Miss Mel. She sent a box. It was a pretty good sized box. It was full of a lot of voter registration information. And some of that stuff that people should have been registered and not sure if it was registered, we just thrown in the rubber band in the box. Things like that from the past. What I have realized with the absentee ballots on this election is that they was calling people to let them know that they ballot and there's something wrong with their ballots. And I understand they were doing it as a courtesy. But
that's what came out in the trial today. That the Quitman, that Lula, Smart, and others were only trying to make the voting process work better, trying to get more people involved. And Attorney King, Carla Walker, and Attorney Simmons out of Marietta, Georgia, was doing just that. And I want to appreciate them for standing up for what they believe in. And although Al Sharpton, Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, Maxine Waters are highly respected black people, but I respect the people who come through to these small towns more and are willing to take on, to take up the new civil rights struggle. In other words, they are reaming out from the dream of Dr. King a new reality. In other words, they're just not just going on his birthday or when he was murdered and just show and tell and have a few children to stand up and placate and duplicate and imitate that great man beyond some real work and sacrifice that is the real reflection of Dr. King.
What that book, that green book, the ACOG or the G's, I can't remember that old book, the green book. It states in there, if there's a question about anyone voting right, there must be something done in writing. And the liaison for this area, I think her name is Rose, she's telling them it's okay if they call. But who's to say they call everybody? You know, when you make a phone call, there's no tracking to say that you made everybody, but it says it should be done in writing. And anytime you're supposed to do it in writing, it should be a copy in the person's file, what you mailed out to the individual, and what date you mailed it out to them, a date stamped on it. If you call an individual, you have nothing to show that you called. And I understand they say they're doing it as a courtesy, but there's no paper trail with a phone call. So I don't know why she's allowing them to make these calls, which you can get a person in quickly, but still, like I said, there's no paper trail with a call that you call as an individual. I might have 10 call 2, and that means 8 people is not receiving an absentee ballot. I don't know what's going on, and then by the time it comes to the vote, they're not sure to go to the phone or wait for a ballot. But there are some things that need to be looked at, and Mr. Cunningham is correct. That office fully needs to be trained. As a board member, only training we had as a board, we went to Kennesaw State, and we was trained on how to do LAs and do parts of the machines and this and that. At GDOA, at B-RAG, it wasn't a whole lot they taught us there. Just some of the things we have to watch out for and what to do in the past. Honestly, how to form the board, how to bring the board to a meeting, or what are we doing in the board, it has not been taught to us yet.
The Shades are saying that they have not been trained yet. And so there's a great possibility that, in my most humble opinion, then again, what do I know? I'm not in the election business, although I have been poll managers. I have been a poll manager in several precincts here, well, one precinct here in Valdosta, and I worked at several precincts. I do believe that people need to be trained. I do believe that complaints need to be listened to by the Secretary of State representatives, and I think that corrections need to be made.
I've seen the regulation, how the board actually should be run. I pretty much had to get on the county commissioners because you're trying to get me to do day-to-day operation. And if I'm down there and a problem arises that makes me as a board member part of that problem, how can I come in and be biased to that situation? A board member should come in neutral, not seeing what's going on. And what I'm saying on that is that you had a board member in the office working when the situation took place. And quite naturally, you're going to defend your office. Because when I came in to hear what was going on, it was that the individual, the voter was wrong. I worked with the public for years as a letter carrier. Yeah. Customers are always right. You can show them documentation where they're wrong. Nothing was shown to that customer, that voter, I say, where she was wrong and what she was saying. Because everything she quoted Mr. Collins on is pretty much that she was right.
And once again, it is what it is, and that is a board member of the Brooks County Board of Elections. We're going to stop there, and then we are going to listen to a few words I made, but they were no more and no less important than those that you heard already.